The gauntlet was not a place for the faint of heart, the weak of will, or the poor of credit. It was a space station built into the hollowed-out asteroid of a dead star, a lawless den of smugglers, mercenaries, and information brokers who dealt in secrets the way children dealt in trading cards. I had come here to sell the only thing I had left, myself. My name is Dorian Vance, and I am a reader. Not a mind reader. That would require an ability I was not born with. I read people, their micro-expressions, their tells, the way their pupils dilated when they lied. On a good day, I could tell you what someone was thinking before they knew themselves. On a bad day, I could tell you how to hurt them. Today was shaping up to be a very bad day. My ship, the Last Chance, named with all the optimism a debtor could muster, had been impounded by the Gauntlet's docking authority for non-payment of fees. My credit chits were empty. My last job had ended with me running from a crime lord on Signia Prime who took exception to me reading the wrong secret at the wrong time. I was desperate, hungry, and wearing the same clothes I'd worn for 3 weeks. That's when I saw the recruitment kiosk. Voidspan Expedition. The holographic sign blazed. Seeking skilled personnel. Generous compensation. All debts cleared upon acceptance. It was too good to be true, which meant it was probably a trap. But traps, I had learned, at least offered the possibility of escape. Starvation offered none. I walked up to the kiosk and pressed my palm to the scanner. The next thing I remembered, I was waking up on a ship. The ceiling above me was a mess of exposed conduits and humming machinery. The air smelled of recycled oxygen and something metallic, like blood that had been cleaned but not forgotten. I tried to sit up, and a wave of nausea crashed through me. "Easy there," a voice said. "The trink takes a while to wear off if you're not used to it." I turned my head and saw a man sitting against the wall opposite me. He was older, with a weathered face and the kind of eyes that had seen too much and forgotten none of it. His uniform was worn but clean, and he had the look of someone who had been in worse situations than this. "Where am I?" I managed. "Voidspan Vessel Event Horizon," he said. "Bound for the Rift. Your expedition personnel now. Congratulations. Name's Jared." The Rift. I felt my blood run cold. Everyone knew about the Rift. It was a tear in space-time at the edge of known space, a place where the laws of physics went to die. Ships that entered it never came back. That's a suicide mission. Jared shrugged. Everything's a suicide mission if you think about it long enough. But this one pays well. Or it would have if you'd signed up voluntarily. They must have really needed bodies to start press-ganging drifters from the gauntlet. I closed my eyes and let my head fall back against the metal floor. Of course this was how it ended. Not with a bang, but with a tranquilizer dart and a one-way ticket to oblivion. The next few days were a blur of orientation sessions, medical exams, and being assigned to a bunk in the crew quarters. I learned that the Voidspan Corporation was a megacorporation specializing in deep space exploration and resource extraction. The Rift had been discovered 5 years ago, and every ship sent to investigate it had vanished without a trace. But Voidspan had recently developed new technology, a rift drive that would theoretically allow a ship to navigate the anomaly safely. The Event Horizon was the test bed for that technology. The crew was a motley collection of mercenaries, scientists, and desperate souls like myself. We were all here for different reasons, but we shared one thing in common. We were expendable. I kept my head down, did my work maintaining the environmental systems, and tried not to think about what awaited us at the edge of the universe. It worked mostly, until the day before we were scheduled to enter the Rift. That was the day I met the telepath. Her name was Alara Venn, and she was the expedition's chief science officer. I'd seen her from a distance during the orientation sessions, tall, with sharp features and eyes the color of aged whiskey. She moved like someone who had never doubted her place in the universe, and she looked at the rest of us like we were specimens under a microscope. I was in the observation lounge, staring out at the stars, when she walked in. The rift was visible now, a jagged scar of purple light that split the darkness like a wound in reality itself. It was beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. "Beautiful, isn't it?" she said, coming to stand beside me. "It's something," I agreed. "You're Dorian Vance," she said. It wasn't a question. "The environmental tech." "That's me. The guy who makes sure you have oxygen to breathe while we fly into certain death." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You're more than that, though. You're a reader." I tensed. That wasn't something I advertised, especially not on a ship full of strangers with unknown agendas. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do." She turned to face me fully, and for the first time, I noticed something strange about her eyes. They seemed to shimmer, just slightly, like heat haze on a summer road. You read people. Their expressions, their body language, their tells. It's a useful skill, but it's not the only way to read someone. I felt a chill run down my spine. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that I know you're lying right now. I know you're afraid. I know you're thinking about running, even though there's nowhere to run to." She tilted her head, studying me. "I also know that you used to have a sister. You lost her when you were young. You blame yourself." The air left my lungs like I'd been punched. "How do you know that?" "Because I can hear you," she said simply. "Not your words, your thoughts. I'm a telepath, Dorian. A real one. And you've been thinking very loudly ever since I walked in." I stepped back, my heart pounding. Telepaths were real? I'd heard rumors, of course. Everyone had. But I'd always dismissed them as conspiracy theories and spacer superstition. But the look in her eyes told me this was no rumor. "Why are you telling me this?" I demanded. "Because I need your help." She glanced toward the door, then lowered her voice. "There's something wrong with this expedition. The Rift Drive, it's not ready. The corporation knows it. They're sending us in anyway. They want to see what happens." "Why?" "Because we're the test subjects. The data we generate, even if we die generating it, will be worth more than our lives. And there's something else." She hesitated, and for the first time, I saw something like fear cross her features. "There's something in the rift. Something that's been calling to me ever since we entered this system. It's not human. It's not anything we've encountered before. And it wants me to bring it something." "What?" "Someone who can read. Not thoughts, people. Someone who can understand the lies and truths of human nature. That's you, Dorian. That's why I'm here. That's why you're here." I stared at her, my mind racing. Every instinct I had was screaming at me to run, to hide, to do anything but listen to this woman. But my instincts had been wrong before. And the look in her eyes, the genuine fear, the desperate hope, told me she believed every word she was saying. "What do you want me to do?" I asked. "Just be ready. When we enter the rift, keep your mind open. Don't try to block anything out. Whatever happens, don't fight it." "Can you do that?" I wanted to say no. I wanted to walk away and pretend this conversation had never happened. But I thought of my sister, of all the years I'd spent blaming myself for something I couldn't change. Maybe this was my chance to make a difference. Maybe this was my chance to be brave for once. "I'll try," I said. She nodded, and for a moment, the mask slipped. She looked young and tired and terribly, terribly afraid. "Thank you," she whispered. Then she turned and walked away, leaving me alone with the stars and the rift and the terrible, beautiful unknown. The next day, we entered the rift. The transition was unlike anything I could have imagined. One moment, we were in normal space, the stars steady and familiar. The next, the universe twisted inside out. Colors I had no names for flooded the observation windows. Sounds that weren't sounds echoed through the ship. The crew screamed, or laughed, or fell silent, each reacting differently to the impossible reality outside. And then I heard it. A voice. Not in my ears, but in my mind. It was ancient, vast, and utterly alien. It spoke in concepts rather than words, in emotions rather than language. And it was calling my name. Dorian. I stumbled through the corridors, guided by something I couldn't name. The ship was in chaos, alarms blaring, systems failing, crew members catatonic or raving. I ignored it all. I had to reach her. I had to reach Alara. I found her in the observation lounge, standing before the windows, bathed in light that shouldn't exist. She was trembling, her hands pressed against the glass, her lips moving in words I couldn't hear. Alara. She turned, and her eyes were glowing. Not shimmering, glowing, with the same impossible light as the rift outside. You came, she said. Her voice was her own, but layered with something else, something vast and ancient. I knew you would. What's happening to you? It's talking to me. Through me. It wants to meet you. She held out her hand. Are you ready? I thought of my sister. I thought of all the years I'd spent hiding, reading others to avoid being read myself. I thought of the coward I'd been and the man I wanted to become. I took her hand. The universe exploded. I was everywhere and nowhere, 1 billion years old and a newborn infant, made of starlight and void and everything in between. I saw the birth of galaxies and the death of suns. I saw civilizations rise and fall like waves on an infinite shore. And through it all, I felt her, Alara, her mind intertwined with mine, her thoughts and fears and hopes and dreams laid bare. And she could see me too. All of me. The lies I'd told, the truths I'd hidden, the love I'd never admitted, the fear I'd never faced. Every secret, every shame, every desperate, hopeful dream. The presence withdrew, slowly, like a tide retreating from the shore. The impossible colors faded. The ancient voice fell silent. And we were alone again, Alara and I, standing in the observation lounge as the event horizon emerged from the rift into normal space. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The stars outside were different, brighter, younger, arranged in patterns no human had ever seen. We were somewhere new, somewhere no one had ever been. Alara turned to me. Her eyes were their normal color again, but they held something new, a depth, a understanding that hadn't been there before. She stepped closer, close enough that I could feel the warmth of her breath. You meant every word, she whispered. Every lie you ever told was to protect yourself from being hurt. Every truth you hid was to protect others from being hurt by you. You've spent your whole life reading everyone except yourself. But I read you, Dorian. I read you all the way down to the bottom. And you meant every word. I couldn't speak. I couldn't breathe. She had seen me, truly seen me, and she hadn't looked away. The thing in the rift, she continued, it showed me something. It showed me that the only truth that matters is the one we choose to live. The only lie that hurts is the one we tell ourselves. She reached up and touched my face, her fingers warm against my skin. I choose to believe in you. I choose to believe that the man I read, the one who meant every word, even the lies, is worth knowing. Is that all right? I found my voice somewhere, buried under years of fear and pretense. That's more than all right, I said. That's everything. Outside, the new stars wheeled in their ancient dances. We were lost, stranded in an unknown universe with no way home. But for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid. because she had read my thoughts. She had seen my truths. And she had whispered, "You meant every word." And for once, I believed it too.